Ladies and gentlemen, UFC 251 is so lit. I cannot believe it. Here I am a week later saying that the fight cards couldn't have gotten better, and they Raul, the fuck are you at?
Did I leave?
No, you're still there. What's behind you?
Well, I want to surprise you, but I am here in the legendary Fight Island. Well, looking good. Look at that nice, beautiful sunset back there. Just waiting for my man to arrive from the 305. So, yeah, it's going to be a pretty big weekend. I'll see you guys later.
Later, bro. Hey, stay tuned. Later in my ass. We'll see. We're going to do an episode to do. Stay tuned, guys. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Fight On, brought to you by Game On, a sports podcast for everyone. I have with me, as Raul as it gets. As you know, this is DannyMiami. As Raul as it gets. What's up, Raul?
How's it going, guys? I hope everyone is as freaking excited as I am for this weekend.
Not more than me, bro. Not more than me. I cannot believe that our boy from the 305, from the Miami zone, is fighting for a welterweight UFC title.
Once again, 2020 does not disappoint. This is freaking crazy.
Yeah, let's just forget all the other shit. This right here makes up for it. It's unbelievable. You have Usman, who is perhaps one of the most decorated fighters in the weight class since pretty much GSP left, right? Like, yeah, Tyron Woodley did his thing, but man, he was outclassed by Usman. Usman has definitely proven himself as one of the most technical fighters since that GSP era, where, you know, the whole dynasty of his, domination. He got Colby Covington with a stoppage, amazing fight that really tested his skills. And now he was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns, who is a great matchup for him. I think Gilbert Burns is a killer. And I think as far as a matchup, and we'll get into this, I think that was a better matchup. But I do think that Masvidal is just the more hype matchup. And not just because we're being biased from the 305, okay?
No, without a doubt. I mean, Masvidal is the fight everyone wanted from the get-go. I mean, way back earlier in the year when there were negotiations, not to take anything away from Burns, he's definitely a contender, but I don't think he deserves the championship just yet. I mean, many would even argue that the only reason he even got it was because Masvidal couldn't come to an agreement with the UFC. But we got it. I mean, dude, the fact that this is still happening, I don't believe it. I mean, if there's ever a time for any person listening to this show right now, whether you are an MMA fan or aren't, or have friends that haven't decided to hop on the train yet, there's no better time to join MMA right now because it's ridiculous. I mean, it's super exciting. And it's not just because MMA is the only sport right now. It's just with all this going on, it's just, we got it. Like, if there is a God, I'm not trying to get religious, but if there's a God, he's an MMA fan. He is an MMA fan.
All right, I totally agree with you, man. This is it. This fight on Saturday alone, just the main event alone, you could put like a bunch of newbies fight under that, and it'll still sell. So this, to me, in my opinion, has the hype of a McGregor fight card. To me, this has like the hype of everything in terms of matchup, the excitement. And we had so much that this episode, normally we work our way up towards the main event, but man, it's just so exciting. We had to open up the episode with the Masvidal Usman matchup. Let me ask you this, man. On the more political side of UFC stuff going on, clearly we had Masvidal, who was making a big shit show all over the news, all over the media, everywhere you looked. It was Masvidal complaining about his fighters not getting enough pay. Masvidal complaining that the UFC is ripping him off because he brings pay-per-views and he draws for everyone else, and he wants him and his fellow fighters. Let me recap that. Him and his fellow fighters, they want them both these parties to get what they deserve in the UFC. And what we're actually getting now is that he wasn't going to sign a fight until he got what he wanted. All of a sudden, Burns gets COVID-19. He's no longer able to fight for the title. And with 6 days to a week notice, you get all of a sudden a signed Masvidal ready to fight, which is great. And I know he was training for this, and I know he had his eyeball on Usman for a while because that's what you do as a fighter. You prepare for the champion who looks to be dominant. But what happened? What changed? Did they negotiate a price he liked? What was all this talk about? We need to make sure that we only fight when we get what we deserve. What's up with all this?
I think the planets aligned. It's all that happened for George. I think it was just all the luck. I mean, in the sense of everything happened that needed to happen for the UFC to just give in. And that's practically what I believe happened. They just had to give in because even though I know they stacked this card up for this very reason, in case any fallback or any fighter had to, drop out, they can always say, okay, whatever, we have 2 more championships. Like, it's not the worst thing. But when you're talking about the main event, we're talking about the Usman fight, we're talking about the fact that it's Masvidal, which is the one who should have been there in the first place. I think they sat down and they said, listen, okay, let's give him what he wants. And I still think we'll make money because it's just that big of a deal. And then by planets aligning, I mean, I don't see anyone losing with this. Masvidal got the championship title fight. UFC is going to bank on this because they're the only sport right now, and it's the first Fight Island card. So there's just so many reasons to watch this card that pay-per-view wise, I think that everyone's going to be fine and that everyone's going to be happy at the end of it.
I agree with you. Everything except for one thing. Again, the money was always an issue, but apparently, it's from what you're saying and from what I'm agreeing and from what I'm reading lately. I think it's also a thing of yes, the money might have not have been there, but the opportunity is so big and so historic, and the implications of this card are just so through the roof that it has to be done, even if the money's not right. So you think Masvidal ended up taking like a normal paycheck for this fight?
Well, he did an interview recently, and I know he said it wasn't the exact number he had requested from the beginning, but it seems they met halfway. And he's going to get his pay-per-view money. I don't know the percentage. He didn't disclose that. But yeah, he's going to get a chunk of this pay-per-view. And then that's what he's banking on. He's expecting this to sell. And I think it is. Like I said, I don't even think it's a matter of MMA fans. I think it's sports fans all around the world right now with the drama, with the way it's happening, with it being practically the only major sport on. It just, everyone's going to tune in. These people are, I don't see how this doesn't break pay-per-view records. It would really surprise me if they don't get close.
I just think just because of the ignorance of the crowd that we're facing, I do think that maybe that'll be the gap that has to be closed. The fact that honestly on paper, you can make the best matchup that the sport has ever seen stylistically, and it might not be the most hype, right? Like Conor Diaz, that wasn't really a stylistic matchup of any kind. It was just a guy who likes to brawl in jiu-jitsu and a guy who likes to be more, it's a McGregor and a guy like Diaz, just two badasses in the octagon. The shit talk got the fame brought the money made the fight. But in this case, you're actually seeing a good combination of a stylistically very intriguing matchup, a guy who's been baptizing people. That's what he's known for, Street Jesus, right? He went in there with one of the most dangerous grapplers on the planet, knocked him out in the world record fashion. The UFC has not ever seen a record faster than a 5-second knockout. Masvidal literally at the bell, at the click of the first round, ran up and did a flying knee, knocked out Ben Askren. Pause this video now. Go watch the highlight on YouTube. Ben Askren, Masvidal. You cannot go wrong with this. It's an amazing highlight. It's the fastest knockout in UFC history. You're talking about a guy who did this immediately after flying to England and beating their poster boy, Darren Till, and knocking him out in round 2 after he suffered a bad round 1 where he got dropped and he looked outclassed. He found a way to get his ground under him, which shows his versatility. It shows the way he's able to kind of have a higher fight IQ. He's able to adapt. And Masvidal, make no mistake, the guy has a work ethic like no one else. His training is insane. He's got an incredible episode with Joe Rogan. You should go check it out. This dude is like really, really about the training, about the fighting, about overcoming that adversity. And who else better than Usman? Like I said, stylistically, this is a dream come true. And where is it at? Right where Raul is at, of course. Look behind Raul right now. I mean, actually, hold on. Let me see if I can get that shot because unless you talk, it won't come in. But check that shit out. Look at that. That's what they're selling, though. Now, on that note, Raul, is that really where it's going to happen, or is that just where fighters train? Let's be real. Is it as advertised?
Yeah, no, I think it is at this point. I don't think the UFC would dig their own hole like that. This has been going all over the social media and the internet. This is where it's happening. This is the cage. I don't know any details about roofing, and it might not have roofing. I feel like that's something that would have been built by now. So it seems like, yeah, it's going to be like this. They might have a backup for some spontaneous rain, but I don't think it rains much out there anyway, so it'd be incredibly rare. So yeah, I think this is the cage, and it's amazing. I mean, that backdrop. I mean, I'm picturing like it's like a movie playing in my head to see two guys. Referee says, "Let's get it on," and these guys are meeting in the center of the octagon, and the beach is in the back. I mean, it's gonna be pretty epic. I'm super beyond excited.
I mean, you when you say it like that, I'm a little for a couple things. I get butterflies in my stomach, and I also get scared because the rainfall is gonna screw it all up. I don't want no goddamn rain delay in my UFC events. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think we're good on that terms. If anything is scary right now, it's going to be these next 6 days. These guys still have to pass, I think, like 4 more COVID tests. They're going to be quarantined for the most part, so it should be fine. But I mean, with this virus being so random and spontaneous, it can still not happen. And I mean, 6 days is a long time. That would be the only thing I'm scared of, honestly. I mean, I know they just left on the charter today, so everyone's heading to Abu Dhabi as we speak, if not already there. And now it's just a matter of it's a waiting game. You just have to sit in their hotel rooms and wait.
That's it, and that's what I hear from a lot of people that I've been talking to that are stepping into the octagon and fighting, like Caceres, and of course Frank Camacho gave us a great episode about his life. You know, how they pretty much like prison guard you a little bit, and they have to. It's just, you know, they can't take that risk. But yeah, man. So we have the fight happening right where you're at, and if that's the case, man, I mean, how do they control the tide? What if the tide goes up too high, starts flooding the octagon? I'm a little worried because, like, as I'm looking at that octagon right now, I'm looking like, damn.
Yeah.
All it takes is one bad wave, man. What are you gonna do? Cornermen clean up salt water? I don't know what's going on.
Well, Yas Island was built originally, you know, wasn't built for the UFC. This isn't like an island that the UFC bought or built just for this event or these next future cards. Yas Island is actually like sport entertainment island that Abu Dhabi had constructed and built for things like this. So I'm pretty sure, you know, research and stuff went into it before ever it being constructed. I don't think that's any of that's the problem. And again, this is a climate of like desert-like temperatures and atmosphere. So in terms of rain, tides, and all that stuff, I don't think it would be an issue.
I hope not. I really, really hope not. And now we've gotten over the political things, the fact that maybe he had to accept the money for what it was because the situation is what it is. Cool, we'll take that face value. But it is a little bit interesting how, you know, first Masvidal was taking a stance about bad pay in the UFC, and now it didn't matter because he got, you know, it's like, okay, listen. You're not going to get paid what you want, but look, you get to fight on an island for the first time. You get to, how about it? And it's like, oh, okay.
The surprising thing is that it seems like he signed a 10-fight contract.
Right. You sign a 10-fight contract, and if within those 10 fights you become a UFC legend, I don't know if there's any room for dispute or fight. What do you call it? Pay increase. I don't know if there's like room for that. Pay negotiation. There we go. I don't know if there's room for that pay negotiation once you hit the 10-fight contract. I don't know. Really don't know how that works.
I've heard from other fighters that there's always, like, the UFC is always open for that. If you become someone that really just sells it and you're a superstar in the sport, they sit down with you and they do negotiate contracts. I mean, just from other fighters who have talked about this topic, it doesn't seem like it's too hard of a thing. But if it's anything like Masvidal's suggesting, he's getting paid really good for this. I mean, this is not going to be no scrap money. Plus, you add pay-per-view money numbers into that, he's going to be a happy guy, win or lose.
On my Instagram today, a bunch of loser-ass motherfuckers that stream everything for free were actually saying, damn, I might pay for this fight. It's like, really? It's like, yeah, it's so worth it just to contribute to a historic cause. You know,
I'm a big believer in that. I don't risk pay-per-views like this. I want it HD. I want it full streaming. I don't want nothing to interrupt this. So if you're one of those people, hey man, you know, pirate at your own risk. But this is one card. You don't want that thing lagging.
Yeah. I certainly am not going to take that risk either. Now, here's the bold part of this episode. What predictions do you want to make before you give me the final prediction? How do you see this fight playing out? I mean, if you had to be a guesser among guessers.
So I have to, first and foremost, state for the listeners, I'm going to be a little biased. 305 Cuban boy here, Masvidal all day. But let's talk about MMA a little bit. Everyone's giving it the fight to Usman in terms of odds because of his wrestling.
Yeah, for sure.
Because of the fact that he had a full fight camp, all that stuff, and they're all totally legit reasons. But here's another reason why I think Masvidal is going to take it, putting all the bias stuff aside. His striking game is on a whole nother level, and it has been for a while now. I mean, Usman's striking was showed off a little bit in the COVID. In his last fight against Covington. So he impresses a little bit. We see that he has hands. It's not just all wrestling. That's great. I don't think it's at Masvidal's level. Now, if he's going to go in there and thinks his wrestling's going to be enough to take Masvidal, that's the problem. It's not. I think Masvidal is going to have amazing takedown defense. I think he's going to prepare for it. And I don't even think he needs a whole fight camp for the Usman. Number one, he already was planning to fight Usman months ago, so he was somewhat training for it. And also, I think when you fight as long as Masvidal has been fighting, fight camps at that point aren't really meant to teach you anything new. based on who you're fighting. You have your game plan. You have what you're good at. You're just there to just fine tune and get into like just really good endurance shape. Because just say you're already at a point in your career where you're not, like I said, you're not trying to learn something new. So the fight camp at this specific moment wasn't essential. As long as if he stayed in shape and he was still training somewhat, I think he's fine in that aspect. So I think Masvidal's just going to surprise us again.
Surprise. You say surprise, you mean, do you see him stopping Usman? That's crazy.
I see a TKO late in the fight.
Oh shit, he said it right here, ladies and gentlemen. Knockout during this fight, TKO. I would have to say I'm sorry, but I'm biased from the 305 MIA Miami. Proud boys. I mean, this is the year for the Miamians. We had Yoel Romero fight for a title shot. Granted, he didn't deserve it. I'm not saying, he didn't deserve the title shot, but hey, he was in there without Adesanya. That's legendary shit. And now we have Masvidal going in there with Usman. Interesting how the Miami boys always make their way in after someone else drops out of a fight. but hey, man, they're in there. And I don't know if Miami can go 50-50, meaning they lost Yoel Romero, but they get Masvidal, I say it's a win-win. I want to see it happen. Although I will say this, no MMA fan, I mean, unless you're an out-of-the-way hater, I mean, you cannot dislike Usman. He's a badass. He's a baller. He doesn't I don't think he has enough personality to hate him unless you really want to hate him the fact that he's not enough of a personality. But as far as I see it, this is it. This is the guy, the MMA guy right now. So I love
and a great fighter. And that's why I think if Masvidal finishes, it's going to be late. I mean, gosh, there's no way he ends it quick because he's good. But Usman's no chump, dude. Like, he's pile drive through the welterweight division easily.
Yeah, and that's what makes this fight amazing, is that Usman is that guy who will bring it, and he has it all to be a champion. Look what he did to Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley got his black belt right when he submitted Darren Till, and then I think he fought Usman after that, and look what happened. Usman made him look like black belt what? Black belt what? I'm gonna whoop your ass, and he dominated him. One of the most dominating performances we've ever seen, considering the level that they were both at. It was insane. It looked to be a neck and neck fight, and ended up being a college football team. High school football team against a goddamn NFL team is what it looked like. So now you have Masvidal going in there, who's very interesting. He has a lot of weird and interesting approaches to a fight, and like I said, I don't think he's going to be shooting the takedown, and I think he's going to be all the more ready for the takedown. I say. Every time I say Usman gets the earlier rounds with the threat of the wrestling. Once they tire out and Usman cannot shoot in as much, like the Colby Covington fight, where the takedowns weren't there later, and Usman actually had to use his hands. I think that's where, if Masvidal can stay fresh and conserve his energy, that's where I think Masvidal can win the fight. I'm gonna say that, although I don't predict. I don't know. I can't predict this fight. Fuck it. I'm gonna go bold here, Raul. I got to go with Masvidal just because the biases are in my bones right now. I just can't help it. Here's the thing, though. Do you think Masvidal has the tank? Let's say Usman shoots, and he's just relentless with it and does not allow Masvidal to implement his striking. Do you think that Masvidal will tire out? We're talking about, let's say the fight's in the 4th round. Do you see Masvidal gasping for air?
So here's the thing, and not to get too medical or scientific, it is going to be a problem in the sense of, well, depending how in shape he is or how well he cuts weight. But I feel that if there's a factor, it's going to be that. I mean, the guy has to drop about 20 pounds in 6 days, and that can take a toll on the body. So in the past, we've seen that Masvidal's endurance isn't really a big issue. But when you're talking about a situation like this, where you have a drastic weight cut last minute, it could. I mean, he is human. So yeah, I think if there is a factor against Masvidal, it's going to be that. Is his endurance going to hold up, and is his body going to react well to this weight cut?
Dude, you know what I realized just now? This episode is not going to be Masvidal fighting Usman, even though that's what it is. Like, Usman the champion, and Masvidal gets to fight the champion. This episode is going to be called Usman Gets to Fight Masvidal. 2 biased dudes sitting across the table just saying, fuck it. Let's just.
Hey, man, and you know what? You're right. I think Usman at the end of the day has to give a little thanks to Masvidal, because this fight is going to get the attention it's going to get now because of Masvidal. I mean, yeah, it was going to be a big card regardless, and a lot of people were going to tune in, but it's way bigger now. It's way bigger now.
Of course.
And Usman is who he is because he's champion. If it wasn't for the championship belt, no one would even know who that is, I think, for the most part.
And that's what I said earlier. You can stage an amazing matchup in a fight. You can have Usman and Tyron Woodley. That was an interesting matchup. Or you can have like a really interesting matchup, like I said. But Usman being the interesting match fighter that he is, with great technique all around, it's not too much hype. In the eyes of the mainstream, nah. But with Masvidal in there now, you've got millions of viewers now that were never on top of what was already. You have your steady base of fighter fans like us that were going to watch it no matter what, because after all, Gilbert Burns and Usman, let's not take anything away from that for a second. That
Yeah.
was that was the main event originally for a reason. Okay. I was super stoked about it. But now that it's Masvidal, you add to that baseline of serious, steady fight fans. Now you've got Masvidal. Oh man, that's millions of viewers to add on to that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I will say this: we have made our bold predictions here today. Obviously, the two Miamians are going to pick Masvidal. Good grief! And this was supposed to be an episode on the entire card. What I'm going to do is cut it here, just so you guys, if you guys want to see the rest of the card, stay tuned because we're going to make another episode here real quick. Raul, I'll see you in a few days. No, I'm just kidding. Stay tuned, guys.